This is the one, the holy grail of modern horror films, The Exorcist.
Well, then let's introduce ourselves. I'm Damien Carrot.
And I'm the devil. Now kindly undo these straps.
When it came out back in 1973, people were fainting in theaters. They slept with the lights on for months. It was the scariest story of satanic possession ever made. Although the guy who made it doesn't see it as a horror. You know, to Bill Friedkin, The Exorcist is actually about the mystery of faith and the battle between the forces of good and evil. They're the questions that have defined his career. Now, Willie Friedkin grew up in Chicago, part of a poor family. Watching movies was his escape, as it was for many. And he, like others, became obsessed by the pure power of Citizen Kane.
Rosebud.
Now, it's surprising then that Billy would become a director. One of his early films was a documentary called The People vs. Paul Crump, actually saved an innocent man from death row, and it wasn't long into his career before he won an Oscar for this, one of my favorite films ever. The French Connection. It was radical. It was a police drama that at the time felt like a doc, where it was hard to tell the good guys from the bad guys, kind of like real life. It even had one of the best car chase sequences ever. Billy rocked another great car chase into Live and Die in LA. That's become a cult classic.
You had me scared out of my mind, man.
His latest is called Killer Joe with Matthew McConaughey and Emile Hirsch. It explores Billy's trademark themes, that line between good and evil, and the darkness that lurks inside.
Oh, what did you think this was, huh? Let's make a deal.
Please welcome to the show, Bill Friedkin.
Thank you. Hi, George.
How are you?
Nice to see you.
Likewise.
I wish I could see all of you, but you all look blue.
It's mood lighting. It's
mood lighting.
Cinema lighting.
Can you hear me all right?
Perfectly. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. I'm really good.
What was the first Halloween like at the house of the guy who had just made The Exorcist?
You mean after I'd made it?
After you made it and people knew that was your house, did anybody even dare come to your place?
Oh, sure. They used to bring kids, and I'd put razor blades in the candy.
Nice.
You know.
Right.
And
that's pleasant.
My place was known as the place to go, you know, if you wanted to do some damage to your kid. No, I would give the kids either candy or I'd sing them a song.
Can someone who doesn't believe in God or a God make The Exorcist?
I couldn't have. They made Exorcist 2. The people who made Exorcist 2 believed in nothing except trying to make money off the success of Exorcist 1.
So you believe in God?
I certainly do. I can't define God in that sense. I believe in a superior being. You know, some people call it nature. Some people call it Muhammad. Some people call it Jesus, the Son of God. My films are all about the thin line between good and evil that's in everybody. I don't believe in a guy in a white hat and a guy in a black hat. I know it within myself. It's a constant struggle for my better angels to triumph.
What do you think compels you to go there? What's inside you that allows you, that wants that?
They're just fascinating stories. The Exorcist, for example, was based on an actual case.
Exorcist was a small art film that nobody saw. Super indie. Well, that resonates, doesn't it?
Yeah, but, you know, once I found out that it was based on an actual case that happened in 1949 in a place called Silver Spring, Maryland, it changed my approach to the film. I didn't then, and I don't now, think of it as a horror film at all. It's a film about the mystery of faith. You can Google articles about that case. It was on the front page of the Washington Post in 1949, and the Post article indicated that this young person who they believed was possessed was exorcised and cured.
So if everybody has, which is true, everybody has that sort of ugliness inside, is there a price that comes with their refusal to make peace with whatever they're dealing with?
Yes, of course there is. And that's happened to me as well. You know, I mean, I've made missteps throughout my life and have paid for it. You know,
Which ones resonate the most with you?
Well, you know, I had, up until my present marriage, I had 3 unsuccessful marriages. And it certainly wasn't the fault of the women I was married to. I was a difficult guy to live with, I imagine. I know your audience doesn't agree with that, but
Difficult
it's
in what
nevertheless
sense?
true.
Because relationships are hard to make work regardless. So
Yeah.
to be the difficult one in the relationship and to be open about it is an interesting place to be.
Well, it just happens to be true. But in the first 3 marriages, they were all 3 very self-destructive. You know, we were not only not meant to be married, we should never have been together.
I mean, there's parts of your career where you have more luck getting things made than others, and that's natural for everybody. But, you know, you had that run. If you think about the 3, which included The Exorcist and French Connection, did you ever have a feeling that we know this isn't promised to us forever, but like, man, this run, did you think it was going to last forever, or were you worried that that was going to go away?
No, I always felt that one day someone would knock on my door and say, okay, it's all over. We've come to collect the furniture, the carpets, the paintings. You know, you've had your shot, and come on with us. But the films you're referring to, like The French Connection and The Exorcist, Boys in the Band, To Live and Die in L.A., I never thought they'd be successful. I certainly never thought The Exorcist would be, you know, would still live in the same way that it has for 40 years.
How about The French Connection? That might be one of the finest films ever made. And
you're too kind.
No,
let me give you that $20.
And I'll give it back. But Gene Hackman in that, was Gene comfortable? Because here's why. If it's in the early 70s when that was made, Adam 12 was on TV, so people's understanding of what cops were like in terms of the Hollywood version. In the real world, in some of the poorer communities, they had a very real relationship with the police officers. So when French Connection comes out, it's a very mind-blowing moment for a lot of people to see that opening scene with how Gene Hackman behaves, and it's a very different thing. Was he easy to work with in that role?
No. Gene did not really want to go to the dark side of that cop, because Gene is very liberal. He didn't really take well to using the N-word and beating up suspects and all that, which was the truth about that cop. And Gene didn't want to go there. So he and I had a constant tug of war where I had to get him angry. And he's angry throughout that picture.
Do you physically attack people you work with?
There have been occasions.
Yeah, you've slapped people before, haven't you?
Yeah, well, a priest in The Exorcist. He was not an actor. He was a priest. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were freezing. And he had to give the last rites to his friend who had just plunged from the top of a flight of steps. And the crew was there and freezing, and we did about 25, 30 takes, and he wasn't getting it. And he couldn't reach the emotional point. And I had read that other great directors had done that. John Ford, George Stevens had done that.
Whack.
Yeah. And I first asked, I took him by the shoulders, and I asked him if he loved me and if he trusted me. And he said, you know I do, Bill. I said, okay, and I told the cameras to get ready, and I hit him as hard as I could across the face, and I said, roll it, and he went right into the scene. The shock of it, the shock brought forth the tears, and afterwards he embraced me and thanked me.
You can't pull that card too often, though, can you?
No, I haven't done it more than 570 times.
You know, by all accounts, Killer Joe is a movie that a lot of people are going to like, and it's heavy and dark, but they're going to laugh at it as well. But do you ever think that, I mean, you know, that you're always going to be compared to The Exorcist and The French Connection and films like that?
I think that...
And To Live and Die in L.A.
Well, I think when I die, it'll say the director of The Exorcist has just died, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll always be identified with it. That's what happens when a film becomes so popular for so long. I also think that it will say in the lead, Academy Award-winning director William Friedkin has just died, you know.
William Friedkin, everyone. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Julie.